You're listening to His Empire of Dirt, Chapter 10. Michael Afton reunites with his only friend. Clara is fretting over her hair by the time she escorts Mike to the door. They're in another apartment complex, this one closer to campus. While this building is equally as unextravagant as Clara's, it's a league better in terms of cleanliness and safety. Mike imagines that William would have lived in a cardboard box if it meant getting away from 93 Hare Street. "You look fine," Mike says, to which Clara rolls her eyes as the two of them near the door. Number 18. They got the number from the landlord who was in the lobby.
"Great, fine."
"That'll sure warm," she sighs, and rapidly knocks on the door.
"This is stupid. This is idiotic. I am going home. Hi, William?"
The door has creaked open, and Mike jumps at the sight. His dad, though he is not a kid, and he is not an adult. He really is just about 18, ready to be in college for the first time, is holding a knife, a sight all too familiar. He has dark circles under his eyes, and his eyes are still grey, probably to Beatrice's lament. Now, though, he's no longer fat, but tall and lithe. Taller and stronger than Mike. He will always be taller and stronger than Mike. His hair still has the afterthoughts of disarray, but his style now reminds Mike a bit of Elvis. His dad kind of looks like a greaser. His purple shirt... what is it with him and purple? Mike had a theory back in the day that his dad was supremely selectively colorblind, with the entire world being grey aside from shades of purple, unbuttoned at the top. Other than these key differences, yes, Mike and William Afton could be twins. Mike waits for his father's stormy eyes to alight with recognition. Perhaps he will throw his arms around Mike, sob and exclaim,
"Mike, you're back, and you never left me. I kept my promise, and now I donate to orphanages and build shelters for dogs. Also, murder is just about the most grotesque activity, and I can't imagine anyone would ever want to dive into the practice, let alone be successful at it."
Instead, he looks Clara up and down and softly exhales. "Yeah? You work at Junior's, don't you?" Clara is officially too mystified to speak, so Mike butts in. "She does!" Mike extends his hand to shake, ignoring the knife. "I'm Fritz." His father slowly shakes his hand. "All right." He moves to close the door. Mike almost yelps and moves his foot between the door and the frame. "Would you mind moving that?" Mike sighs. "I have to speak to you." "What about?"
Well, I travelled back in time, and yes, it's really me, your childhood best friend, and I really am terribly sorry about getting hit by a car. Things were going swimmingly up until that point, aside from you exhibiting signs of slight sociopathic tendencies. Just before William can slam the door again, Mike remembers what the landlord said to him when he and Clara asked about where William lived. "Afton? Yeah, he pays on time. Needs a roommate, though. It's a 3-bedroom place."
Mike clears his throat and smiles. "I'm new, and I heard you needed a roommate." William's eyes just barely enlarge. "Yes, that's right." William grunts and tenses his hand around the knife. The knife is far too natural in his grasp, as he opens the door wide enough for Mike to enter. "Would you like to come in?" Mike nods, and in his peripheral vision, Clara is staring at William perhaps a bit too obviously. "Do you go to uni here as well?" When Clara does not answer, Mike serendipitously elbows her on the side.
Yeah, I'm on a pre-med track."
At that, William smiles a bit.
Mike had also theorized when he was younger that Dad enjoyed Mom almost being a doctor, because she probably could have healed him up whenever a spring-lock failure occurred.
Ah, you must be very smart then.
Mike shudders. Evidently his father has already mastered his false voice. His condescending incantation that somehow never sounds condescending at all. His voice that makes you feel so special, so smart, just for speaking to him. His tone that coerces trust, and, in some cases, even admiration or love in his audience. With relief, though, Mike realizes that William's eyes are not nearly as cold or malicious as they will devolve to be.
Oh, you know, Clara replies. I like to think so.
Right. Well, Fritz, was it? Let's get to talking. Your name, miss? Clara jerks her hand out to shake.
Clara.
Clara, he smiles, a flash of suavity, and returns her handshake. Delightful. Clara nods, and she seems to calm a bit with the handshake, the consecration of the meaning, and her shoulders stop tensing. In turn, though, Mike tenses a bit, because this concretely disrupts space-time. Dad and Mom aren't supposed to meet for another year, and they won't start dating for a bit after. If they meet now, maybe they'll date sooner, and maybe break up. Wouldn't that render Mike non-existent? He realizes he has not fully grasped the paradoxical nature of all this. Is it all doomed to repeat itself? Is Mike fixing absolutely nothing at all?
Fritz,
she says, turning to Mike, breaking his existential dread.
You come back to my place afterward, all right? You remember how you got there?
Mike nods, and she waves to the both of them as she goes back down the hall, her heels clicking against the thin carpet. William's smile falls when Clara disappears, and he gestures for Mike to enter. The apartment is similar to Clara's, but it's larger, meticulously clean. Pardon me, William says, as he sets the knife down on the kitchen counter. I was just preparing lunch. Mike sighs with relief, glad that his dad isn't practicing his knife skills. Would you like tea?
Nah, I'm all right.
Mike awkwardly stuffs his hands in his pockets and shuffles over to the couch after William gestures for him to. He is entirely unsure how to begin this conversation. Does he admit to his time travel? Does he tell William that, yes, he is actually Mike, his one and only friend? He has plenty of proof that only William's old friend would know. The bunny, the car, the boogeyman. That would convince him. On the other hand, Mike does not want to be arrested for being a maniac bothering unsuspecting future serial killers. He figures he'll swallow down the truth for now and just be something that he detested, an observer. So, you're going to school here? Yeah. Electrical engineering major. Business minor. From London, if you couldn't tell by the voice. How'd you run into Clara? I see her at the diner occasionally, but she never speaks to me. Mike chuckles, embarrassed. I got hit by a car. She helped me heal up because I didn't want to go to the hospital. William nods, sipping from his own tea as he sits parallel to Mike. I detest the hospital. I know the feeling. So, you want to live with a bloke you've never met before, immediately after getting hit by a car? What's your story, Fritz? Well, Mike scratches the back of his head, studying his father. Much of his mannerisms are there. His smugness, his grandiosity, his inherent command of the situation. But some are absent. The sadism, the coldness, the psychopathy. And Mike wonders if this is because his father simply has not gotten to that villainous point in his life, or if Mike's mild intervention has actually gone somewhere. Did having a friend for but a single weekend actually give way to William Afton becoming a decent person? Mike
Can't be sure. I just need a place to stay, and I don't have any friends in the area. Clara said you were a decent guy. He tries as hard as he can to emphasize decent as naturally as he can, as if to spark the memory. So I figured I'd give it a shot.
I see. Fritz, may I tell you something? Mike begins scratching the inside of his wrist as he nods.
Sure, go ahead.
You are a really poor liar. The simple, curt phrase is enough to send Mike spiraling into hyperventilation. He controls his breathing, though, and asks with a rasp in his voice,
What do you mean?
Well, William begins, crossing one leg over the other, grinning a bit into his tea. You might try to hide it, but you've got a bit of an accent as well. On top of that, I've been here about a month and I've never seen you before. Lastly, you've been shaking this entire time. So do I frighten you, Fritz? Or are you a madman here to murder me in my sleep? Mike stares at his feet, and he thinks that he should just cave and admit it. Tell his father that he is currently an animatronic trying to kill his son, and he is also a scared little boy with no friends, and Mike just wants to save his dad and the rest of his family. My dad doesn't want me around, he says instead, and he tells the truth, because there is no lying to thee, William Afton. And he beats on me. I can't be there anymore. I'm not welcome. I'm shaking because really I'm not good with people. And honestly, they never stay around long enough for me to get comfortable with them. I heard about you from Clara, and I thought maybe we'd get along. I don't have a lot that I can offer you. You can kick me out for being strange. I probably would, too, but maybe I thought... Mike swallows hard, and finally tilts his gaze upwards. I thought maybe you'd want to be friends? Williams stopped drinking his tea. Instead, he is staring at Mike, his features entirely quizzical and curious, as if Mike is a broken-down animatronic that his father intends to fix. You're right. I should kick you out, shouldn't I? His voice is lower now, and Mike is frozen on the spot. And once more, he awaits his father to beat him, and let his blood and break him down into someone that knows that he deserves all the pain he receives. William Afton broke Mike a long time ago, and Mike remembers this every time he thinks he might be happy. He doesn't deserve to be happy. Do you have a job, Fritz? Mike shakes his head. No job. You don't go to school, and honestly I doubt you have any sort of identification or qualification on you from looks of you. You are perhaps the most ill-suited person to be roommates with. Mike begins to sluggishly nod, before his father cuts him off with a sharp laugh. Abused people just really are attracted to each other, aren't they? What your old man use, eh? Mine used a cane. And his hands. Hands. Belt. Mike anxiously exhales. And sometimes a knife. Just to scare me, though. William scoffs and uncrosses his legs. What a prick. You've no idea. Mike appreciates this response more than anything. He does not enjoy people offering him sympathy, because he knows he deserves none. But really, I'm sorry is not productive. There's no point in being sorry for it. Mike is sorry about Evan, after all, and his little brother will never come back, no matter how sorry he is. It's not hard to get false identification. We can work on that tomorrow. I'll get a key for you. I've got another bloke coming around soon to see the place. Go to Clara's, like she said. Why would you... Fritz, really? William says with a laugh, standing. Do you want to know why I'm accepting this? I enjoy mystery, and you, sir, are entirely an enigma. I like fixing things. Mike's head spins when he studies the meaning beneath the already alarming admission. William knows Mike is broken, and William likes broken things, because William Afton loves control. Mike understands that his father only wishes Mike to live there because he can keep him there like a pet, like a rickety animatronic, like a broken son. Perhaps his father is a bit of a sadist already. Perhaps William is fantasizing about the ways of slitting Mike's throat open. Perhaps he... And, William adds, his voice and face warmer this time, it would be nice to have an acquaintance, I'd say. Oh. Mike had nearly forgotten. William Afton had never had a friend. And perhaps that's all he ever needed. Well, Mike says, and he's smiling before he can decide to stop. That'd be nice. I appreciate it. Quite. Get a job, though, once we get that identification of yours sorted out. Can't have you crashing on my couch for the rest of your life. Alright, enough of you. Oh, and do me a favour when you get to Clara's. William's smile cannot decide to be devious or sheepish. Let her know I notice her at the diner. She's taken with me, ain't she? Mike wonders at what point in the past 8 years William Afton became disastrously confident in himself. Yeah, I think so. Good. Good. Yeah. I think I'll enjoy my time with her. You will enjoy breaking her. You will enjoy breaking her into the husk of a woman that you can bend to your every whim. You will raise her to be a mother that allows her husband to abuse her children. You are going to ruin Clara's life. William leads Mike to the door. You know, I think you remind me of someone I used to know. Mike nearly jumps at the admission before he exits the apartment. Really? I believe so. I'm sure you can relate, though, in the way I don't remember much from my childhood. He taps his temples as if to emphasize his point. It's the brain's way of protecting us from going mad, after all. With this, Mike thinks that perhaps, aside from his father's loathing of him, maybe he doesn't know anything about Dad's life, because even Dad didn't know much about his life. Maybe everything before college, before Mom and Henry, just existed as an abusive grey blur. The only streaks of clarity, perhaps, the psychopathic thoughts he held and the boogeyman in his closet. That explains why he doesn't recognize me, aside from it being so long ago. Dad's head forced him to forget Mike's face. Forget every single beating, just so that he could exist without wanting to die. Mike thinks it is part of his curse to remember just about everything that has happened to him. Every lashing, every barb, every tragedy. The bite, Mom, Elizabeth, the scooping, Jeremy, the missing children, each and every fire, all permeated throughout his brain forever and always, simply because his brain does not want to protect him, as William's does to him. Even Mike's own body detests him, but nothing detests him more than his own thoughts. Right, William remarks, breaking Mike's revere. I'll be seeing you, Fritz. I'll be seeing you, William. Thank you, again. Mike steps into the hall. Really, I could just about be a murderer, and you're letting me live with you. William flashes a smile, like a shark, as he moves close to the door. Oh, I could just about be a serial killer, couldn't I? Perhaps you walked right into my trap. Mike stares at the door for a long time after his father closes it. It would be nice to have an acquaintance. Mike prays to every god that he does not believe in that his father truly just wants a friend, and does not want to control another broken thing. And selfishly, Mike really, really hopes that his dad just wants a friend. Because deep down, and he will never admit it, he just wants a friend too.
Little William Afton is Mike's only friend in the whole world. And Mike really just wants him back. Mike startles when he bumps into someone. His mind had been swirling with the conversation he had had with his father, and he was hardly paying attention to where he was walking. "I'm sorry," he blurts, and he bends down to help the person he's bumped into collect their books from the sidewalk outside the apartment complex. "Oh, don't you worry. It's all right. You look frazzled. You all right, friend?" Mike picks up his head after gathering the books from the sidewalk. He examines the person he's bumped into. His hair is uncharacteristic for the 50s, and perhaps even the 60s. His chestnut hair is a bit long, and entirely unkempt. He has large glasses that hide his kind brown eyes. He's wearing high-waisted pants and a button-down shirt stained with grease from perhaps working with machinery. He's a broad guy, but not in an intimidating way, but in a comforting way, like he'll protect you with his stature, and he'll never turn against you. Mike is filled with a very familiar warmth that he has only truly recognized from one person. I'm okay," Mike squeaks out. He doesn't know why, but he does know why. He wants to hear the man say his own name, to introduce himself, to tell Mike that everything's okay. But he introduces himself first. "I'm Fritz." The man smiles and extends his hand to shake. "Emily. Henry Emily. Say, friend, I'm looking for one William Afton. You just came from the building he's in. Do you know the room number? It seems I've forgotten." "Don't. He's gonna kill your daughter. He's gonna pretend to love you, and he's gonna break you down worse than everyone else in Hurricane. He's gonna coax you into comfort, and then he will burn down everything you love. You will burn him alive, and you will stay in the fire because William Afton will make you want to die. Henry, you are going to want to kill yourself every day of your life because one day you met William Afton." But Mike answers, because he is just as much of a selfish bastard as his father. If Henry isn't in his life, then he would have stopped trying to save them all from William Afton a long, long time ago. 18, Mike rasps out, to which Henry smiles as broadly as one would upon hearing that they had won the lottery. He's an 18. Thank you, I really do appreciate it. I'm... Mike stammers. And God, he needs to stop talking. He needs to convince Henry to get the hell out of here. He needs to save Henry's life. But he can't. He's just a monster, like his father is. Because he misses Henry so much. He needs to save Henry's life. Also, living with him. You're going to interview for a living there, right? Right. Oh, well, wonderful to make your acquaintance, friend. Fritz. I'll be seeing you, yes? Yeah. Yeah, I'll be seeing you, Henry. Henry claps Mike on the shoulder before departing for the apartment complex. Mike stares at his feet, and he imagines Henry is there once more, sopping over his poor daughter's casket, telling Mike that the pizzeria will burn, and Henry is killing himself because Mike couldn't save him or his daughter, his oldest friend. "I'm sorry, Henry," Mike chokes out, like he's choked out 1,000,000 times before. Both to his uncle and to the darkness he contemplated his own death within. "I'm sorry, Henry. I'm sorry, Henry. I'm so sorry." Teardrops dot his hands and his shoes, and he forgets that he has a friend. He forgets that Clara is taking care of him, and Christ, Mike just wants to burn alive again. He just wants to die. But he can't. Michael Afton will always have to save the day, because one day he had been the villain.
Mike has to be the hero because he killed his damn brother and he led all of them to die. Because Michael Afton is just like his father. Except he's not a winner. I'm sorry, Henry. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. He repeats this over and over. Because maybe one day it might matter that Mike is sorry. Though he knows it won't. Because he ruined everything a long time ago. And fuck, he just wants to die. I'm sorry.